So guys, in this video we're going to discuss the dark side of being a chosen one, because there's simply a dark side to every little thing in life that you can think of. That relationship you dream of, there's a dark side. When we say dark, we're talking pros and cons. Because if you want to be something, or you want to be involved in something, there's going to be pros and cons. So there's like a dark side to certain things. And being a chosen one most definitely has its pros and cons. Being a chosen one is not for everybody, clearly. It is okay if you're not a chosen one. But being a chosen one means choosing yourself, listening to yourself, listening to your God, and not following the crowd. You kind of lead your own life. You do what you know you're supposed to be doing, pretty much at all times. And there's definitely pros and cons involved. There's pros and cons involved in being average. There's pros and cons involved of having a whole bunch of friends, being around a whole bunch of people all the time in these atmospheres and these crazy places. There's pros and cons. Because in an atmosphere like that, you will not be able to focus. You will not be able to think straight. You'll be living in the moment, probably having a good time, but there's certain things you will not be able to achieve. Being a chosen one, the pros is you are going try hard. Like, you're doing all the right things because you're destined to succeed. You're destined to go down the path you're supposed to go down. You're destined to achieve the things you're supposed to in all areas. And there's cons to those pros. You're going to spend a lot more time alone. If you're very extroverted, if you're a people person, if you need to be around people all the time, you're probably not cut out to be a chosen one. Because you would rather go with the crowd, do things like that. I've made some serious transitions in my own life. I used to be the person, very extroverted, around a whole bunch of people. But that started to become my downfall. And I knew it. And there was a lot of good times, there's a lot of pros involved. But too much of anything becomes a problem. That's why you have to know and when to know to balance certain things out. Spending too much time alone also becomes a problem. You have to know how to balance things out. Get around others, do other things. Here and there at the least. But being a chosen one, you're going to do a lot of things by yourself. You're going to do a lot of work by yourself. So there's obviously cons involved, especially for extroverted people. So that is pretty much the dark side to being a chosen one, as there is a dark side to everything. Like, let's say the relationship you dream of. Like, almost every single one of us put people on a pedestal. But over time we start to learn how people really are, instead of just viewing people as something they're not, something they will never be. Because if you view someone as something they'll never be, it's going to disappoint you, it's going to let you down. If you can see and accept people for what they really are, it's going to make things a lot better. Like, if you're a guy, you can't put women on a pedestal, bro. I've been there. I've done it. I didn't expect overly too much, but like, they're probably not going to be as good as you thought they were, if that makes sense. Sometimes you might get surprised. Who knows? But most of the time, you will see their best in the beginning, and then over time, you're going to have to start to deal with the cons, because the cons will come. They call it the honeymoon phase for a reason. Things happen. Things start to go downhill. It is what it is, man. There's pros and cons to everything, and that is the whole point of this video. Being a chosen one, there's pros and cons. It's not for everybody. Being an average person, it's not for everybody. There's pros and cons. Being an average person, being a follower, it puts you at risk in so many different situations. Being a chosen one, it puts you at risk in certain situations. There's a risk in everything. There's a risk of accepting mediocrity. There's a risk in being average. There's a risk in being successful. There's a risk in being a chosen one. There's risks in everything. There's a risk when you show up to your job. A fucking forklift could fall on your head. Something from a forklift could drop on your head. Like, you know what I'm saying? You could play a sport. You're at risk. I'm pretty sure there is a death, at least in every single sport. If you're an electrician, there's pros and cons. You're at risk. You're an underwater welder. There's pros and cons. You're at risk. You're going to make a lot of money. You could fucking die under the water trying to weld some shit. So there's no perfect life. There's no perfect path where it's like all cons, baby. Let's go. No. There's going to be challenges, tribulations, trials and tribulations. There's going to be all kinds of that in so many different ways. In that relationship you want, like I said, there's going to be many trials and tribulations. There's going to be challenges that you're going to have to overcome. But my thing is like this. You have to figure it out for yourself. You have to figure out, are the pros that good that it outweighs the cons? Or is it the other way around? Do the cons outweigh the pros? Is this for me? Should I be doing this? Or could I be living a better life doing something else? Some people, believe it or not, are destined to be average because that is the best life for them. Some people are destined to be a chosen one. Some people are destined to be a professional athlete, make millions of dollars. Some people are destined to do certain things. Like it's literally destiny. And it's up to yourself to figure that out. But just know, there's pros and cons to everything. There's no perfect path. It doesn't exist. There's all kinds of challenges. You have to figure out what's worth the challenge. What pros am I going to gain from dealing with all the cons? If that makes sense. And like I said, being a chosen one, to make it simple, you're going to be doing an enormous amount of work on yourself, man, in so many ways. It's not like you do one thing. Like, man, choosing yourself and choosing to be the best version of yourself is something a lot of people will never understand. Like, it takes an immense amount of work. You're never satisfied. You're very hard on yourself. You demand the absolute best of yourself. You're a high performer. You perform at a high level in all that you do. And you do not accept anything less. That's what it comes down to. You do your homework, you study, you learn, you grow, you work hard, you become better in all ways. It's not for everybody. It's a lot of work. It's an adrenaline-based lifestyle. And people work harder in different things. Not every chosen one is going to be living an adrenaline-based lifestyle, because they might work a lot harder in different areas that does not involve adrenaline. But either way, it's a lot of hard work. You're going to do some suffering. Living average, you're going to do some suffering. Your bank account is probably going to suffer. Your party life is probably going to be lit. Everything is a trade-off. It's whatever you want. It's whatever is in you. Some people are destined, man, to live that party life, to have a bunch of friends, to be doing a whole bunch of stuff. I was involved in that life heavily. And I mean heavily, man. Like, I talk about the people in my videos a lot that I used to be. And I always knew I was never going to be that, because I always had a lot of drive and ambition. But at the time, I was still in high school, I was locked down. So it's like there was not much else I could really do. Like, that was the thing to do at the time. But when I got out, I had a legit choice to go try hard, to shape and mold my life the way I wanted to, instead of just, I'm trapped in this school, I have to finish. I'm around friends all day, I'm doing all this stuff, celebrating the weekends, go party with on the weekends, get with the girls group. I got my guys group, we all get together in these cottages, we all party together, have a good time, shit goes down. It's great times and all, but there's pros and cons. If you keep up with that shit, man, into your 20s, you do not have a bright future. I don't care who you are. Your future is not bright. Like, you can't be doing that kind of shit all the time and have a bright future. Your bank account will suffer. Your ambition is going to suffer. Your work ethic is going to suffer. Your brain cells are going to suffer. Your energy is going to suffer. Like, you're going to be terrible in so many areas. So, at the end of the day, man, life is a trade-off. It's whatever you want. People invest into certain things and put time into certain things for a reason. It's whatever is important to you. If literally you're living for the party, YOLO, you only live once type of life, and that's what's in you, then maybe you should do it. But like, man, you got to think of the dark side to that. There's a huge dark side to that, which is obviously why I'm not involved in that kind of bullshit. Think about how your life is going to shape up if you do that kind of stuff when you get older. Like, man, people don't understand. We don't have forever. We're not going to be as physically capable and as energetic as we were when we were in our primes, when we were a lot younger. I would consider myself pretty much in my prime right now, possibly a few years away from it. We'll never get our youth back to be able to be our sharpest. Everybody ages. Father Time catches everybody. A lot of those people don't understand that they're not going to have the work ethic and the ambition, especially from not taking care of themselves all those years and getting older. You're in for a rude awakening. Like, you're going to be flat broke. You're going to be average. You're going to be old. You're not going to be able to work nearly as hard as you used to. You're not going to have near the opportunities that you could have had if you would have been more awake. Like, man, there's a huge dark side, which is obviously why I didn't take a path like that. Like, it's probably the least smartest thing you could do, but I'm telling you, man, some people are literally destined to do that kind of stuff. And to just kind of work and grind tooth and nail to just get by, like, when they're old. Like, man, some people live that life. Like, that's the life they're destined for. So, you gotta tell yourself and you gotta ask yourself, like, what's gonna be worth it for me? What should I be doing? What path should I be taking? Weigh out your pros and cons. Think logically, think clearly. Make the right decisions. Some people even make the wrong decisions. And then it's way too damn late. Like, life goes by fast, man. It really does. Decision making has to be now. Decision making cannot wait. You can't wait. Like, you have to go. Go. Because it takes a lot of work on top of making that decision in the first place. You don't make a decision, everything's good. Like, you got to put in a lot of work once you make a decision. So it's going to take a lot of time. And this is why I'm telling you guys to weigh your pros and cons, because it's whatever you want it to be at the end of the day. It's whatever you want it to be at the end of the day. Everybody has a decision. Everybody has a choice. Just make sure you make the right one, because if you don't, you're going to have a lot of regrets. You're going to have unnecessary stress. because of the unnecessary decisions you made. That's what comes with it. And even if you make all the right decisions, there's still cons, but a lot less. And you're going to be in a much better place, and you're going to have way better pros. So let me tell you this, guys. What would you rather? Would you rather have far more pros in your life going forward for the rest of your life and such little cons? Or would you rather have such little pros and a whole lot of cons that you don't want? I think every single one of you guys will give me the same answer. A lot of great pros and very few cons. Not the other way around. Unless you're out of your damn mind. So, this is what good decision making does. And at the end of the day, you're still going to have cons. That perfect relationship you want is still going to have cons. Many pros, but you're still going to have cons. The friendships that you want, there's going to be cons. So, and I'm going to tell you this. Being a chosen one, for me, way more pros. Few cons, but there's still cons. Not everything is perfect. There's things I wish this could be different, or things could be going this way, or it's always going to be like that. I don't think you'll ever reach a point in life where it's perfect, where you're like, I just love everything. Like, you'll love a lot of things, but like everything, like it don't exist. There's always going to be something else. Okay, you bought the house, you got the girl, you got the dog, you got this, you got that. Now it's time for a vacation. Then you get back from that, then it's like, what's next? Then it's like, what's next? Then it's like, what's next? Then you have different goals, different goals, different goals. And that's the whole point of life anyways, man. Like, nothing is ever going to be enough. Like, that's just how it is. That's how we are as humans. It's how it's going to be. Like, literally nothing is ever going to be enough. Because there's always going to be something else. It's not that you're not happy and grateful for what you have. It's the fact that there's always going to be something else. And I honestly think that's the way to be, and that's the way to go anyways. Because there is something else. There is more work to do. There is other things to achieve. There's other things to do. So, yeah. But anyways, guys, that's pretty much the video here. If I was you guys, every one of you guys, I would weigh your pros and cons for whatever it is that you're doing. Like, even, let me say this right quick before I end this video. Even if you buy a dog, like, there's pros and cons. Like, there's literally nothing that you can do that's just all cons. Maybe something. I mean, if you drink water, that's a pro. There's no cons involved. No cons involved. Unless you drink water till you die, then that could be a con. But you guys get it. Like, if you buy a dog, there's going to be pros and cons. Like, you're going to love your dog. You're going to love your pup. You're going to have a lot of fun. You guys are going to entertain each other. You guys are going to give each other good energy. You're going to have a good time. You're going to play with the dog. The dog's going to play with you. You're going to wrestle around, whatever. But your dog, like, you have to buy food for your dog. You got to feed your dog. You got to walk your dog. You got to exercise your dog. It's going to be harder to juggle around things by owning a dog. You can't leave your dog. You can't go on a week vacation and leave your dog at home, not being fed. You got to figure something out with your dog, possibly bring it to some of your family's house or give it to a friend that will take care of it and pay your friend. Like, there's pros and cons, man, to everything. Like, everything. Your dog could chew your couch. I'm pretty sure that's a con. Like, things happen. So, you got to weigh out your pros and cons. I tend to make quick decisions, but I think about those quick decisions at the same time. I weigh out my pros and cons. If you buy a tub of ice cream, there's pros and cons. You're going to enjoy the hell out of that ice cream, especially if it's your favorite. But you're going to put on unwanted calories and unwanted body fat, quite possibly, especially if you're not active after you eat that ice cream. Ice cream is not the healthiest thing in the world. There's pros and cons. There's pros and cons to drinking alcohol. Like, unless you completely hate alcohol, but like when you drink in the moment, it's a good time. You feel good, you feel relaxed, you're drinking, having a good time, music's going, whatever, you're chilling with friends. The cons happen next day when you wake up. You might not completely be sick and hungover. You don't feel the best. Like, alcohol is a depressant. You might feel depressed the next day. I pretty much feel like I just feel not nearly as good. I feel down. I feel like I lost my spark because you're fucking consuming alcohol. There's pros and cons. It's a good night. The next day, the next even 3 days, man, like, I can still function because I never drink a lot, but the next 3 days, even 4 days sometimes, man, it's just, you don't feel the same. Like, life just don't feel the same until you get it out of your system. Like, your mind feels off. Things feel off. So, once again, another pro and con. You got to weigh them out. Is this going to be worth it? Is this a night of celebrating that's actually going to be worth it? That's what I tell myself. I'm going to consume alcohol 3-4 times a year and have such a little amount, which is so very little. Pretty much a lot less than most people in the world. A lot less than most people in the world. So, figure out your pros and cons. Boom.